Thank you, Nnaemeka, for this very insightful presentation about what the ColdHubs are in Nigeria and what they mean to the livelihoods of people and how we can reduce food loss on the one hand and raise incomes to farmers and vendors along the food chain. We'll have a panel first. Let me invite the panel to come to the front. So we'll have 4 panelists that will raise some issues and reflect on this experience. Let me introduce them as they take the floor. Let me first start with Richard Tracy, who's our conspirator with this event, the Vice President of International Programs of the Global Cold Chain Alliance. For information, the Global Cold Chain Alliance is an alliance of 4 international associations representing the businesses involved in temperature-controlled logistics, including refrigerated storage, transport, and construction, as well as post-harvest practices. And it has about 1,300 companies from more than 80 countries associated with the alliance. So we're very happy to do this together with you. And ColdHubs is one of the members of the alliance. So let me start with you, Richard. So Nnaemeka presented an interesting case study on cold chains and how this is helping improving livelihoods in remote areas of Nigeria. We know, and as he mentioned, cold storage and transportation are important elements in food chains everywhere, but they're not readily available in all parts of the world, typically because there's an inadequate basic infrastructure, lack of energy, no funding to invest in the cold chain, and so on. So now the Global Cold Chain Alliance is an industry group, a private industry group, of which ColdHubs is a member. But what can such an international group do to support such small-scale operations, or yet small-scale operation of agribusiness developers like Nnaemeka's ColdHubs? And what can we do to scale this up? Because this is not just a local, very localized problem, but this is a much wider spread problem. So what would be the ingredients to make this happen?
Thank you, Rob. It's really great to be here. It's great to see such a great audience here looking at this problem, because it's a significant problem all around the world. Nnaemeka has definitely highlighted something that is really on the cusp of being a true impact in Nigeria. Some of the things that I see to help scale this up is in other countries as well as Nigeria. One of the intangibles is an entrepreneurial spirit. There is a cost. It's 50 cents per box. And now what Nnaemeka has experienced is that the retailers, the farmers, are saying, it makes sense for me to invest and spend that 50 cents because I'm getting a better quality product. I'm getting a better quality price. I'm able to hold my product longer and not be at the mercy of the aggregators who are waiting and waiting and waiting and saying, I know that guy has to sell it because it will spoil at some point. So that's a great business model there. We have seen that in Uzbekistan. We have seen that in a number of countries where a true entrepreneurial spirit allows people to make that investment. The challenge that we see happens is, while this seems like common sense, it's a great idea, it's affordable, why don't more people do it? Why don't more businesses, more farmers, more retailers buy into this? I think the $1.3 million price tag for 40 units is definitely an inhibitor on some hands. And then other places, the entrepreneurial spirit is not quite such that they're able to actually spend even just 50 cents a crate to make sure that they are going to be able to have a better quality product. So I think there's a number of things there that impact upon the business climate to have that be successful. I think another thing that Nnaemeka touched upon is 50% of the problem is the infrastructure. It is actually looking at investing in an actual physical location. But he mentioned several times, training, and more training. And he has spent a number of times, he spent resources developing a comic book that allows people in the local language access to information and training so that they're not just giving him a box of spoiled product and thinking, oh, it'll get better inside the cold hub, which it doesn't. It's not a hospital. It won't make things better, right? It actually could make things worse. And so he spends an inordinate amount of time. Matter of fact, we were discussing yesterday about the nascent Nigerian association that's there, that he hopes that they will take over the training aspect, because then he can focus more of his time not on training and educating people, but actually going and developing the infrastructure, which is what his business model is. He doesn't want to be a trainer. He enjoys it. I think he has a great face for radio, and he does a very good job. He does a good job of getting that information out. People love him. I know my colleague Amanda Brondi is here. She's seen actually how people gather around him and want to hear from him. He's very engaging. But the reality is the service that he's providing is much needed. And we'll go a long way to do that. And then in the end, I would say that one of the other aspects that we see that's very important is the government support for these types of opportunities. And it can be government supports in the fact that there need to be food safety regulations in place that demand and encourage the use of cold chain and clean facilities that are providing safe quality food. It could be that the government is providing the infrastructure of the grid that's going to be there, the roads that Nnaemeka referred to that are in a difficult state in many developing markets. And then lastly, it's oftentimes removing the tariffs on and taxes related to importing the needed equipment. Nnaemeka will tell you that although the cold hub costs $27,000 to build, $6,000 of that is actually so that he can import refrigeration equipment and other things from other countries that are not available in Nigeria. So we can see where the government can play a critical role in easing the burden in a positive way, or even just being neutral and allowing the businesses to grow in that aspect. And I'll stop there, and happy to take any questions, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Richard, for further enlightening the benefits and the way this initiative has been set up.